Welcome back to Amerisogyny. I'm your host, Hannah Blue. You're listening to episode 91, When the Ball Drops. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, it's the total opposite of what happens on New Year's Eve. We all know that when the ball drops, it's a new year. Everybody gets happy and starts celebrating. But sometimes, when life gets to lifing and the ball drops, there are unexpected, unwanted changes and surprises. I've got a lot of great material for you in this episode, but before I get into it, let me take the time to get caught up with my faithful listeners. I gotta tell you, and this is no BS, I have the best listeners around the world. I haven't recorded a podcast episode in a while, but the foreign countries just keep rolling in. I get so excited when I see new countries pop up on my analytics. Let me take the time to give all of you a proper shout out. But you know what? We have so many. Let me just shout out everybody. I want everybody to feel welcome, and I want everyone to hear me say thank you for tuning in to us. So here we go. Of course, we have my country, the United States, and my state, North Carolina, is the number one state that tunes into me. Shout out to North Carolina. Around the world, we have Vietnam, Colombia, India, Iraq, Mexico, Brazil, Pakistan, Chile, Senegal, Uruguay, Uzbekistan, Venezuela, Argentina, Bangladesh, Bolivia, Azerbaijan, Germany, Ethiopia, Jordan, Kenya, Lebanon, Palestinian territory disputed, South Africa, Cote d'Ivoire, Dominican Republic, Algeria, Ecuador, Georgia, Israel, Jamaica, Malaysia, Nigeria, New Zealand, Tunisia, Saudi Arabia, Peru, and last but certainly not least, Oman. I love you guys because you put my Codarius duology on the map. That's right. Oman is the number one country that has bought the most copies of my Codarius, The Origin of Gallium, and Codarius, The Betrayal. I see you, Oman. Keep tuning in and keep reading. And let me go back to this list because I want to see how many new countries we got. Just doing a little quick count here. That is a total of 13 brand new foreign countries that have tuned into us. And you know what that tells me, you guys? That you are listening, that you are hungry for knowledge for what's going on in this country. And I am more than ready to give it to you. I say this all the time. Amerisogyny is not a political podcast. And I despise Trump. But we're not going to get into politicking today, although I will give a shout out to Iran. These Lego commercials that they make. Y'all, I don't want to be petty. I just got a big blessing, but did you guys? It's too funny. I'm sorry. Did you guys see the latest Lego one that they made? This is the latest one that I saw where they mailed a casket to him and they wrote loser on it, right? This is why I should not start talking about him because it's just hilarious. Oh my God. If you haven't seen it, they're floating around social media, all of these Lego videos that they're making of Trump, and it is absolutely hilarious. I'm not being unpatriotic when I say shout out to Iran because, you know, Iran is down with black people. And if there is anybody who is down with black people, I'm going to be down with you. Okay? All right. So what have I been up to, you guys? Why have I been out of commission and not recording episodes? Number one, I hurt my knee last year weightlifting. So you guys, I couldn't even sit in this chair and talk to you. Okay. It was bad. I had to go through PT. I had to learn how to walk again. I couldn't even put the ball of my feet to the floor. That's how much my knee was messed up. But now I'm better. And I'm right back here to talk to you. What else has been going on? I closed on a beautiful home. I bought a home in Princeville, North Carolina, which is a historical Black city. I'm going to give you a bit of history on Princeville, North Carolina, you guys, because it has a great, rich history. And I got to tell you, I love it. Everything is in one big circle. Whatever you can't find in Princeville or Tarboro, which they are the same, I've been told, you can go right over the highway, 20 minutes to Rocky Mount, and you can find every single thing you've ever wanted. Okay? When I tell you this is a breath of fresh air after living in a rural area for the past 13 years, I absolutely love where I am. I love my house. It's beautiful. Most of the people that I've met have been really nice. And I hope it stays that way. Because you know what? When you're happy with your environment, you're happy with life, right? So that's what's been up with me. I have been unpacking boxes. Just haven't had any time to sit down with you. But there's been so many good stories that I've been collecting, and we're going to sit down and talk about them today. So without further ado, let's get started. We're only stopping at one place outside of the United States, and that is South Korea, because I have a hot story to talk to you about. But first, we're going to get into the history of Princeville, North Carolina. So we have two important years here, 1865 and 1885. But let's get into 1865. In 1865, the town was named Freedom Hill by freed Black people. And they got this name from a hill or knoll where Northern soldiers had announced that the Union victory in the war made them free. Now, this was at the end of the Civil War, where the Union troops had occupied the area around the town of Tarboro, which is known today. And many of the people who had been enslaved came to the federal encampment seeking freedom and protection. Now the soldiers advised them to return to the plantations and work for their old masters. But get this, they were free. So they said, we're not going back. And they stayed encamped at the site after the Union troops left. There's a huge sign right across the street that says 1885, and there's a reason for that. On February 20th, 1885, 22 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, freed Black people in Edgecombe County established Princeville, and it was North Carolina's first town to be founded by Black people. Now, only two claim to be the first Black towns in the nation, that is Princeville and Eatonville, Florida. By the time the 1870s rolled around, the land changed hands and Black residents began buying up lots. And one of the buyers was Turner Prince. He was a carpenter, and this is who the town was named for. Princeville is the oldest Black incorporated town in the U.S. Princeville was placed on the national map in September 1999 when Hurricane Floyd devastated the area. The fierce storm destroyed more than 30,000 homes. Unlike the current coward-in-chief, former President Clinton made a visit to Tarboro and said, "I urge you to keep your spirits up and know we're going to be with you every step of the way. When things like this happen to some of us, we know they could happen to all of us. We know we have a responsibility as members of the American family to help you get back on your feet again. Oh, how I miss having a real president." And not only did he talk the talk, he walked the walk and gave assistance to families in need, such as unemployment payments, emergency food stamps, and hired temporary workers for cleanup and offered low-interest loans to farmers. I said I wasn't going to get into politicking, but this is what a real president does. He doesn't start wars with people. And that is a bit of history about Princeville / Tarboro, North Carolina. I think we're ready to move on to our first story, yes? Let's get it. We're not leaving the United States until the very last story. Let's get these balls dropping, people. The first story comes from social media, of course. There's some backlash against TikTok. Say it ain't so. Well, some people are posting content that is glamorizing financial dependence on men. And more than a few feminists aren't happy about it. Hypergamy is seeking a partner that has more wealth and status than you. There's a controversial dating coach, Shara7, also known as the Sprinkle Sprinkle Lady, who allegedly has been telling women to laugh if a date suggests she splits the bill and to cheat on broke men. Other influencers, Nara Smith and Hannah Neeleman, allegedly state that women should take care of domestic labor while the men work outside of the home. And they've been on TikTok since early 2020. I thought TikTok would have died when Trump's friend took it over, but it's still going, unfortunately. I do not feel TikTok has done any favors. There are some people who will argue me down about that, but I think it's one big dumb machine that keeps us distracted. Well, some on social media are not happy about this, what they call backwards way of thinking. One of the TikTok trends is about women joking about being good at the blue store, meaning hardware stores or electronic stores, so their boyfriends will buy them something at the pink store. Let's say Sephora. Stay-at-home girlfriends on the app gloat about doing nothing but rotting in bed and going to the gym while their partners are at their big boy jobs. Sarah DeLu, I don't know if that's how you say her name, recently went viral on X after posting about her boyfriend putting his credit card in a handmade magic wand and taking her on a shopping spree while she wore a tiara to celebrate her 26th birthday. She posted, "Guys, my boyfriend put his credit card in a magic wand and took me on a shopping spree for my birthday. Now I'm going to give you the truth. I have never depended on a man. I wasn't raised to depend on a man. As a matter of fact, my grandma raised me without the presence of a male. So I never thought that they were important. But I don't see anything wrong with taking her on a shopping spree for her birthday if that's what he wants to do. And if he can afford it. I think some people will find anything, and I mean anything, especially on social media, to be upset about. Why do you care how someone else is living or if they're getting spoiled? But let's move on. Now, the article says this type of content is engaging and shaping young women and providing a very real cultural shift towards traditional gender roles among young people. According to research, baby boomers have more liberal views than Gen Z on things like whether a wife should always obey her husband to whether it's ever okay for a woman to initiate sex. And the author of this article is spitting hard facts. Cost of living is high. And the gender pay gap is still as wide as a wishbone. And some young women have realized you can't girl boss your way to independence and security. And some believe that under the current system, it's better to give up on jobs entirely and focus on securing a male provider. I don't know if I agree with that. Some say relying on a male partner to fund your life is a slippery slope to abuse and coercion. I do agree with that. So the article goes on to say, and I quote, "No one is saying that it's toxic for your partner to spoil you on your birthday. No one objects to a setup where each partner contributes to the household living costs proportional to their own income. And thanks to the gender pay gap, it's likely that the man in a straight relationship will fork over more money than the woman. But what is dangerous is the notion that women should give up and lean into depending on a man to bring home the bacon. Let me give my thoughts on this. When I was 9, my grandmother told me a story about my grandfather who worked in a steel mill. And she said when he came home after getting paid, he would give her what he wanted her to have. And they had multiple kids, 10. And if it wasn't enough, she would get angry and throw it back at him. Well, she said after a while, he started picking the money up and he wouldn't give her anything. Nothing for food, clothing, nothing. And I'll never forget what she said to me. She said, "He who pays the cost is the boss." I never forgot that. She said, make sure you always have your own, meaning you pay your rent, you buy your groceries, you buy your clothes, you make sure you have enough money to cover your bills. I never forgot it. And like I said, I grew up thinking that men weren't essential. Now that I'm at the age that I am, I do feel men are important. I do feel that they play a role, but I would never depend on one for finances. Never. And now that I own my own home, I don't have to worry about that. Thank God. And I don't plan on that changing anytime soon. I absolutely believe that women should have enough money to take care of themselves. Because if you are financially dependent on a man, like the article says, and I do agree with this, that's how you get into abusive relationships. That's how you get into relationships where you might be cheated on and there's nothing you can do because you're dependent on the man to pay for everything. I'm sorry, that's not freedom. To me, that's not a soft life. And speaking of a soft life that turned hard, I want to switch gears and talk about a story about a beautiful young woman that is blowing up all over social media. She went to Tanzania with her boyfriend, who became her fiance for a very short time. He proposed on camera. She was an influencer and she ended up dead. Now, the boyfriend told the mother she hung herself. I and most people who have reported on this story have a problem with that because the young woman was Black. And let me tell you, to the 77 foreign countries listening to me outside of the U.S., that is something historically we do not do. Black people do not, under any circumstances, hang themselves because historically, white people use lynching, which is hanging, as their favorite way of killing Black people. Okay? So whenever I hear that a Black woman or a Black man allegedly hung themselves, I'm sorry, that is nothing but pure bull. We do not hang ourselves. That girl did not hang herself. Her name was Ashlee Robinson. And let me tell you, I am so surprised that this even blew up because in the United States, if a white woman goes missing or gets killed, it is blown up on every social media channel you can think of, from Sandra Levy to Natalie Hallway to Gabby Petito. But when it's a Black girl, you barely hear a word. So the fact that her story got out there, I am so happy. And not to say that white women shouldn't be in the news when they go missing or they get killed. What I'm saying is Black women should have the equal advantage to be in the media too when something happens to us. Now, Ashlee Robinson was an influencer, not a celebrity, but, she had thousands and thousands of people who watched her life on social media. That's the times that we're in now. Well, she was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous, and she died last week while vacationing with her boyfriend, Joe McCain. Okay? They went to Tanzania, the islands of Zanzibar, and she died on April 9th, just days after her birthday, and a marriage proposal from McCain. Now, no arrests have been made just yet, and police said that McCain was not suspected of wrongdoing, but his passport has been withheld. Now, guys, we can read between the lines, okay? Where there's smoke, there's definitely fire. If he didn't do anything, why did they take his passport? Okay? This reminds me so much of the Shanquella Robinson story that I brought you a while back. She was another beautiful black girl from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, who went on a trip with her friends in Mexico and wound up dead. And despite a scathing video of one of her alleged friends beating the tar out of her, the DOJ said there's no foul play. Yada yada, BS, BS, BS. Close the case. That is the plight of black women in this country. When we get hurt, when we die, no one cares except our community and a few allies. Well, just like Shanquella Robinson's family, Ashlee Robinson's family is seeking answers. And according to her mother, the visit was supposed to be one of the happiest trips of her life. Instead, she was found unconscious in her villa and taken to a hospital where she died later. The family released a statement that said, "Nothing about this loss feels real. One moment she was celebrating love and life in truly Ashlee fashion, and the next she was gone. The suddenness, the unanswered questions, and the distance from home have made this tragedy even more overwhelming for our family." Robinson's parents said they heard from McCain 11 hours after the incident. And what was the incident? A fight. Allegedly, the fight became so heated, the couple had to be separated by hotel staff. According to the police chief, they were also placed in separate rooms. Now, let's look at this objectively. I'm not going to even read the dumb comments that are online about this young girl. Apparently, she had some issues about black men, and she made a post saying that every day black men wake up and embarrass us. Well, some people have taken that to say that she deserved to die. And no, I'm sorry. No matter what someone believes or what experience they have gone through, that does not justify taking someone's life. Now, they were all lovey-dovey. The dude proposed on camera. And then something happened where they got into a heated argument, and it was so bad that they had to be separated and placed in separate rooms. And then the fiance says to the mom, she hung herself? No, I'm sorry. That didn't happen. That girl didn't hang herself. I wasn't there. I didn't hear the argument. But I'll say it again. That girl did not hang herself. And this is my opinion, and I'm going to say it. I think he might have had something to do with her death. Because as lively as she was on social media, I just don't see that happening. Now, the police say we cannot take legal action or detain him under these circumstances. But like I said, they took his passport. I'm hoping that the family will find the answers that they need as to what happened to their daughter. It's a sad situation. And I understand that women, especially black women, want soft lives. But you have to be careful. All money isn't good money, and everything that glitters is not gold. Some men are just crazy and violent, and it's best if they were left alone. And on that note, let's get into our final stop and last story. South Korea. Now, if you've never heard of Blackpink, you've been living under a rock. They're a very popular girl band out of South Korea. And one of the members' name is Jisoo, but it's not about her. It's about her brother and all of the alleged nasty, evil things he's done to his current and former wife. His name is Kim Jong-hoon, and he is the CEO of Biomom. That's a product company for infant health and supplements. He's also being accused of sexual assault by another woman. In January 2026, an informant reported Kim Jong-hoon to the police for domestic abuse. And this informant claims that his current wife is an acquaintance who told them they were being abused since August of 2025. The informant said the wife contacted them saying, "Help me," and had bruises all over her face and body to the point where she was forced to wear long-sleeve clothing even in the summer. According to the informant, the wife said she had been hit with a phone until the phone became bent, and that she had been hit in the head repeatedly and felt like vomiting. Now, allegedly, there is a handwritten statement of her testimony. The statement says, and I quote, "Beginning around 2 weeks after the registration of their marriage, the assailant continuously assaulted and verbally abused the victim, often Bouts of verbal and physical abuse were followed by forced intercourse and forced swallowing of the assailant's phlegm mixed with spit. Now, before I go on, let me say this. This testimony is very, very disturbing. And if you are triggered by violence, I just ask you just to turn off the podcast. I don't want to add to anybody's trauma. Okay? Moving on, the assailant forced the victim to strip down, get on their knees, and beg for forgiveness. If the victim ever spoke of divorce or reporting her assailant to the police, she was violently assaulted. When the assailant noticed that bruises on the body were too noticeable to outsiders, he began targeting the victim's head, smashing her head on the floor, and throwing her whole body against the wall. The victim was forced to say, "I love you" to the husband 30 times a day. The assailant monitored the victim's activity through CCTVs and audio recording devices installed in the house, forcing the victim to hide in blind spots whenever she dared call her acquaintances or her parents. When the victim claimed that she wanted a divorce, the assailant threatened, "I can make you go to jail even though you've done nothing wrong. I can fabricate crimes out of thin air with money. I have the best lawyers. I've been dealing with lawsuits for the past 3 years. Dealing with the likes of you is a piece of cake." The assailant's ex-wife also claimed she was physically abused. The assailant constantly controlled data on the victim's phone, such as deleting all photos taken before 2025, changing personal information saved on social media and apps, surveilling all phones and message records, etc. The victim was severely restricted in their outdoor activities. She was only allowed to go grocery shopping, the hospital, the skincare clinic, and approved learning facilities. She had to report her whereabouts every 10 to 30 minutes, including reporting her outfit when going outdoors. And this article has some disturbing pictures of bruises on her face and body. I'm going to say this. If he did it, he needs to go to jail for a very long time. And that's not all. In May of 2025, he was accused of filming sex without consent and then spreading the film to acquaintances. Now, who does that sound like? Sean Diddy Combs? Well, he denied the accusations and threatened legal action. This guy sounds absolutely horrible. And I'll tell you what, this should be motivation to never depend on a wealthy man. Not for anything. I'm not blaming Jisoo. I don't think it's her fault. I think people who are blaming her are just, that's social media. You're going to get all kinds of accusations and judgment from people who have never met you, people who will never meet you. I hope that the victim gets justice. Just looking at these bruises makes me sick. And if he did do it, he's a sick man. To the person that's listening to me right now, please understand it is never okay for someone to physically put their hands on you. It's never okay to be verbally or emotionally abused. If you are in that situation and you have friends or family or some kind of outlet where you can leave, please do. Now, I know it's not as easy as people say. Sometimes you're financially dependent and you can't go anywhere. But just know, you were not created to be someone's punching bag or to be treated like a dog. You deserve to be treated with dignity, humility, and kindness. Well, my listeners, you know I enjoy sitting and talking to you, but I'm out of time. If you learned anything from today's episode, you know what to do. Hit that follow button, and I'll bring you more stories. It's the weekend, folks, so I want you to be good to yourselves. Be easy, take care of each other, have fun. And as always, God bless.